Okay, it happened. We're here. I'm gonna take a sip of coffee real quick. Man. Okay. If you're a Tesla shareholder, which I know a lot of you are that watch this channel, so am I. This is a day, June 13th, the shareholder vote that you were either dreading or very much looking forward to as a day where you can finally move forward. There's been a lot of things in respects to Elon and his comp package. A lot of people that are upset with him. Tesla stock is down. He's saying crazy stuff on X. Blah, 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 blah. Delaware judge in January throws it out. Okay, cool. So last night or earlier this morning, actually last night, 9:50 p.m., June 12th. I was asleep by then. Both Tesla shareholder resolutions are currently passing by wide margins. Thanks for your support. And what we can see here is that there's a graph for the cumulative Elon comp for votes. So the Elon compensation package for votes by the millions of votes. And this sort of orange line is the threshold for the votes to reach to be a guaranteed win. The blue line is the yes votes and the gray line is the no votes. And you can see here that for the for votes, in the last day, it looks like a ton of for votes came in. The comp plan for Elon officially, based on the data that Elon just shared, has enough votes to pass. So this is the 2018 comp plan that was approved in 2018, rescinded by the judge in January of this year, 2024, that now has been revoted on, and looks like there's significantly more than enough shares to reapprove this plan. If I do some very rough math, if I take the for votes versus the against votes, with the votes that are in so far, it looks like about 72% of the votes thus far are voting for the Elon Musk comp plan, which is not that far away from the 2018 vote that happened. So, and I have a lot of thoughts about this, and I'll share them on this video. And then there was also another huge one, which is the move to Texas. So the reincorporation from Delaware to Texas, mainly because of Tesla's feelings and Elon Musk's feelings about how that judge handled that case. This one, investors were actually a little bit more hesitant on that it would pass. But again, the orange line is the threshold for a guaranteed win. The for votes, about 400 million above that line, and the against votes is actually very little. So what's very interesting is that the comp plan passed by a narrower margin, still 72% of the vote, than the reincorporation to Texas, which was a big win, which is actually kind of surprising to me because I thought this one was going to be a harder sell. But it looks like Tesla investors very much want to get out of Delaware. They very much want to get out of Delaware. So huge news. If you follow Tesla closely, here's Elon Musk, sharing his appreciation, a bunch of comments underneath, and a bunch of people, supporting Elon and Tesla, and a lot of people that follow Tesla very closely. I'm sure when you read these names, you know exactly who they are. And so, yeah, so we finally have a verdict, and this will be shared officially, during the shareholder meeting today. We're going to live stream on this channel starting at 2:30 p.m. Central. Myself, Nico, Matt, and Hans, and perhaps Yashu will stop in as well. So, yeah, crazy day. We'll do a Q&A during this live stream too, like the latter half of it. I just kind of want to share my thoughts here for a little bit. I want to riff as best as I can because I'm gonna get a lot of sleep again. So we'll give it an old college try. When I was covering this story on my channel for the last few weeks and months, one of the things that I was really confident in was that the no's, the people that were very vocal about voting no about this plan, one of the things that I was very confident in was that it was the vocal minority, that it was not a representation of the will of the total shareholders. And I think now we have proof that this is the case. This is the case, which is a relief. The reason why it's a relief is I've been having a very hard time wrapping my head around why somebody would hold Tesla stock and not reapprove a plan that was passed and approved by shareholders in 2018 for an individual, in this case Elon Musk, who, as controversial as he may be in some circles, without a doubt has a track record of insanely high execution and value creation for shareholders. And so to me, a no vote was a silly way to open up risk, to have that person, that player, that CEO, to feel a certain type of way about working at the company. Why should I put in, if we're in the head of Elon Musk, why should I put in 60, 80, whatever hour weeks for a investor base that doesn't want me there, kind of, right? That's the kind of message I think that sends if you vote no, right? And so I'm very happy that common sense and reason won, and this passed by a significant margin, I think the people that were very vocal about voting no, I'm not going to name any names, but I think if you follow the story closely, you know exactly who I'm talking about. I think those folks will probably have a very severe reputational damage moving forward, if I were to guess, especially if they voted yes before. I was having a very hard time getting my head wrapped around this, and I'm glad sanity ruled. It's also a lesson, I think. It's also a lesson that says that if you are going to go out of your way to be this vocal about something that seems kind of obvious to vote yes on, that it's probably just the whole media landscape, social media doing its thing, all the vocal minorities, all the loudest voices in social media always get the loudest, the biggest reach. If you can be as inflammatory and as contra as to the overarching narrative, or let's say the undercurrent narrative, which in this case was, yes, we should definitely reapprove a plan that was passed in 2018 that Elon Musk not only executed against, but shareholders also won a lot of money or made a lot of money from that execution. That, to me, felt extremely common sense, especially because the verdict in January was administrative and nothing to do with the actual goal setting itself. It was very black and white, hit this number, get this amount, right? And so that's another thing there. It's like, hey, it doesn't matter how loud these voices can be in social media. It's always very important to just go back and think about it from a reasonable, logical perspective. And so I'm very happy to see that was the case here too. What this also does is that it finally opens up the ability for the company, the shareholders, for Elon himself, for the story for Tesla to finally move forward. One of the big things that has been missed in this entire thing, as unfortunately, a lot of us almost have to talk about this because it really is a big deal event that I'm glad finally we've peaked. We'll celebrate it today. We'll have the live stream in a few hours, and then we'll move forward. Is that the progress around self-driving vehicles, the progress around humanoid robots, energy storage, affordable electric vehicles, all these things that the company and other companies as well have been working towards has been lost. It's not part of the discussion because so much of the potential of those technologies was dependent on this, in my opinion. It was dependent on this. Because if this went the other way, those other things become unclear. If you're not going to have Elon Musk at the company executing against those things become a little bit more, actually a lot more dubious if they're going to come to reality or not. So with this not being voted for and moving forward, now investors in the company and the CEO can start thinking about, okay, what is the incentive structure that we're going to put together so that we can have 100 million humanoid robots, so we can have 100 million Teslas on the road, so we can have a robotaxi network that is dominant and is potentially 80 to 90% of our total miles traveled in the future. So we can have a dominant solar business, so we can have a dominant energy storage business, so we can have a dominant, hardware as a service, sort of compute hardware as a service with Dojo and the inference compute in the cars. Now we can start talking about this. And this is like the stuff that gets me going. This is why I do this channel. This is why I've been obsessed about stuff like this for as long as I have, is because the promise of those kinds of technologies, Tesla or not, doesn't matter who the company is, it just happens to be Tesla in this case. That's the kind of stuff that gets me really excited. And now with this, we can finally start to really talk about it, because now we've put this behind us. Unfortunately, it was in my opinion, we were hamstrung by a rogue judge in Delaware that I think now Delaware, the state, is going to pay for it with one of their major corporations moving out of the state, which is going to cause the state to lose tax revenue. And it's probably going to could potentially create a cascading event of more businesses leaving Delaware now that they have this sort of shining example of a corporation that is almost majority owned by retail investors, which is absolutely crazy to think about, was quote unquote ballsy enough to say, F you, we're going to get out of Delaware, we're going to go to Texas because we don't trust your state. We don't trust the way you uphold the laws. We don't trust the fact that this passed, the fact that this repassed, okay, proves, in my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, proves that the ruling itself was bogus. The ruling was based on the premise that the comp package was misleading investors, that it was somehow put together without enough transparency to the shareholder so that they can make an informed decision, right? And even with all this controversy, with everything with Elon buying Twitter and everything that's been going on with the stock price and margins going down and all this other stuff, they're still investors are still overwhelmingly, I didn't say that right, but I'm going to stick with it, past this. So there's two things here. Either Tesla investors are idiots or the ruling was bad, right? Seems like to me the ruling was bad. And seems like to me Tesla investors agree that the ruling was bad, right? And so again, the minority voices that were very loud about the other side were proven wrong again. And I think that's a common trend with Tesla, and it has been for a long time. Because the name gets so much attention, because the CEO is such a attention getter, either on purpose or by accident, or both sometimes. The fact that advertisers know that they can make a lot of money on Tesla content, and publications know that they can make a lot of money on Tesla content, so they try to make it as salacious and as grabby as possible, which is going to bring a lot of negative potential eyes on the story, which is the type of attention that works best when you're trying to sell advertising online, right? Even through all of that, common sense prevailed and logic prevailed. And I'm very, very happy that we're here today. Okay, good. We can breathe now. We can breathe. All right, let's do some questions, yeah? Let's pull up some comments and questions. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee while I pull these up. And then we'll go ahead and pull up some Q&A. Thank you very much for stopping in this morning. I looked at my sleep tracker this morning on my watch. I was in bed for 10 hours and I slept 5, which with the baby has been a good night of sleep. So if I look like I got 5 hours of sleep, you know why, because I did. Okay. Let's go ahead and pull up some questions. I hope 75% of companies re-domesticate away from Delaware soon to teach that, in my opinion, corrupt judge a lesson. I highly, highly doubt the number will ever get that big. One can, reincorporating is a very tall task. It requires a lot of work, and it's just the seamless thing. So I think it will probably cause some companies to move, but I think the bigger thing is I think it will send a signal to Delaware that says y'all need to go back to why you originally are being picked as the home for a lot of corporations. It's because you are Delaware. You are a stable place for companies to do business because you're a predictable state to do business in, right? And so this judge threw that entire thing for a loop. Again, and it's proven that it was thrown for a loop because the investors re-voted and they said, yup, right? So if anything, I think it will just let the state know, like, hey, y'all need to chill out. And they probably will. So long term, I think Delaware's fine. But the flip side is Texas just won a huge business, right? And so now there were also news around Texas making its own stock exchange that's going to compete against NASDAQ and the S&P and all those guys or whatever out there in the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ, excuse me. And so now Texas is having that. Now Tesla's reincorporating their company to Texas. Who knows what other companies are going to go there? Texas is a humongous winner out of this. You know? Humongous winner. Oliver Queen, thank you so much for the $9.99 super chat. Follows our question: isn't the voting official at 2:30? So the voting is official at 3, but the data that Elon just shared is like, let's say every single vote between now and then is no. There's not enough votes out there that would be able to turn this vote into an against, because more than enough votes have come in for. If that makes any sense, right? So there's nothing investors can do now. If literally every investor from now on votes no, between now and 3:30, it's still going to pass because they have more than enough yes votes. So it will be official come 3 o'clock. But it's kind of like, think of it as like I don't know if you're from the States, but in the United States, you have the Electoral College when they vote for president, right? And then these news networks will come out and say, we can project that, I don't know, Donald Trump won Florida. We can project that Joe Biden won California. They didn't count all the votes, but they know based on polling and how it's trending that the 99.99999% likelihood chance that candidate's going to win is there. And so they come out and say it. This is basically the same exact thing, but with actual count of the votes. They have the number in hand. So there's nothing that can happen from a no side to turn this around, which is awesome. So, which is a very, very good thing. Okay. But thank you so much for your super chat. I really, really appreciate it. Let's see. This is an interesting comment from Hamoudi. When Elon took over Twitter X and dismissed the majority of the workforce, mainstream media was highlighting the dismissal of the work staff only for other companies to follow. And this is like a trend that happens a lot with Elon, is like he'll do something that's potentially batshit crazy or viewed as batshit crazy because it's so unorthodox and unusual for a person of his stature that has control of such large corporations to make what a lot of people perceive to be, shoot from the hip decisions, but they're really just startup type decisions that are being made at scale, and it's like most people are not entrepreneurs. Most people don't understand how businesses work, unfortunately. And this is I'm not trying to like say these people are dumb. That's not what I'm saying. It's a matter of fact that most people do not know how a company runs. They don't understand what a CEO does. They don't understand what an owner, founder, operator does. And so these types of decisions are very common in smaller companies. It's like Elon is doing something that he's not doing something unusual as it pertains to decisions at a company. The unusual part is that he's doing it with companies that are significantly larger than your typical startup. They employ thousands of people. And so it's having that startup culture at scale, which separates his style of leadership, in my opinion, versus the other ones. And so that's why you have that type of response, I think. And again, as we learned here, the vocal minority is going to be the loudest. But in reality, most people, they value common sense decision making, reasonable decision making. And I think something like that falls in that, right? The decision to let go of 80% of the Twitter staff. Yeah, it was headed for bankruptcy. You have to do something drastic. The platform's still there, and it's, in my opinion, better than ever. Really enjoy being on there, honestly. A little too much. Let's see, what else do we got here? There was a viral TikTok before Elon bought Twitter showing how empty HQ was and how much time they just wasted doing nothing. Unfortunately, that's common with a lot of companies, but yeah. The underlying fact from Daryl is that Elon Musk deserves this package, period. Yep, and Tesla investors 100% agree with that sentiment. And again, I'm very happy that that's the case. Let's do this one. What about the new Elon incentive plan to make Tesla a leader in AI and robotics? When, in your opinion, this will be built? Great question. So Elon Musk said that one of the things that was holding up their ability to get a new comp package out was that ruling that ruling that came out in January from Delaware. And now that they have the ruling, and now that they've acted on the ruling, which was a rescinded package that required Tesla to revote on it, and they revoted on it, and it won. So it passed. Basically, nothing changed. And the most frustrating part of this whole thing is that there's a chance that those lawyers that ran the case will probably make a bunch of money from nothing changing, which was the first video I made when this whole thing broke. The likeliest outcome was going to be shareholders pass this thing again, and then nothing changes, and then the lawyers that brought the suit forward get paid millions of dollars. So Tesla shareholders, the Delaware court acted in a way to try and protect Tesla shareholders, and what's going to end up happening is that they're going to harm Tesla shareholders because nothing has changed, right? This says that nothing has changed since 2018, but Tesla might still be on the hook to pay for the lawyer fees, which is going to impact the financials of the company, which is going to impact shareholders. So you're trying to act in a way to protect shareholders, but you're hurting them. I notice that when I have less sleep, I get worked up a lot more easily. God. It's just, I don't understand it. Elon is worried that Wall Street interest will take control of the company, potentially remove him, and turn the company into a cash cow instead of innovation incubator. Yeah, I think that's a legitimate concern, and I think that's why he was asking for 25% voting control with the new comp package, which I think he will get. There's clearly, investors are very much still, it doesn't matter how much drama there is out there, Tesla investors are still very smart cookies. They understand what they have. Elon Musk is a unique person in this time right now that is uniquely equipped to deliver a lot of value for shareholders, right? And so I think he's going to be able to get what he wants, essentially, because he has the support. So, and that feels really good, because it doesn't matter how chaotic or controversial it seems out there in the world in respect to Tesla or Elon. Common sense and reason prevails. That's a huge message. That's a very big, that is a data point that's very important for me as a shareholder, because I know now that I had the slightest bit of fear that the company was captured by investors that had no idea what they were invested in. Like, how could you want and vote no, right? So this proves to me that it's very much not the case. People that have a lot of logic and reason are Tesla shareholders still, and they likely forever will be, especially as long as Elon Musk is there. So very happy about that. How long will it take to move Tesla to Texas? And what about the other things we voted on? Yeah, so the other stuff that investors voted on will get the results at the event. And then some of them might still need to be counted, or they might need to put out, they might need to go through a process to finalize the vote. The Texas move is going to be up in the air. I'm going to guess it's not going to be immediate. It's going to take some time, but we'll see. We'll see how long it takes. I mean, the fact that it's a done deal already sends the message that it's going to happen. You know, investors want Tesla to move to Texas, so they will move to Texas. It might be slow, or it might take a while, but they'll move to Texas. That in itself is like a huge deal, because now this becomes national business news that Delaware is losing one of the top companies in the United States. That's going to have a rippling effect. Okay. I'm confused on the Texas vote. The chart shared showed a quorum was achieved, or did it just show the vote totals without showing us if enough shareholders voted achieving a quorum? Such a good question. And this is like the complexity around this Texas vote. So there is enough, and I could be wrong, so please check me in the comments, or somebody smarter than me make a video explaining this. we spoke to Alexandra, which I want to give a shout out here very shortly about this, but there is a quorum piece to this Texas vote. That means that there have to be enough votes present at the meeting for this vote to be ratified, essentially. So so this shows that there's enough voting support for Tesla to move to Texas. But the variable that we're still up in the air on is that if there's going to be a quorum that's reached at the shareholder meeting, meaning that there's going to be enough votes represented at the meeting for this vote to pass. And the only way we'll find that out is once the meeting goes live. I think I would be surprised. I know it's going to be harder to do, but I would be surprised if Tesla has the opportunity to, I shouldn't say I would be surprised. I think what this says is that Tesla definitely has the support. They can always vote on this again. That's another huge thing too. Let's say they don't have enough votes present for the yes vote to be ratified. They can always do this vote again and again and again and again until they have enough votes present, because clearly they want to get this done, right? So all it's going to do, in my opinion, is just going to change the timing of the move. It's not really going to impact the move itself. It's just going to be like, well, we know people want us to move. We just have to put in the work to ensure there's a quorum that's reached so that we can actually get the vote to be ratified. We'll get a lot more clarity on it during the shareholder meeting today for sure. It's like the confusing part of this whole thing. But the awesome thing is, in my opinion, this is like the biggest part of the puzzle that's put to bed. And the message has already been sent that this is going to happen. So it will happen. It's just going to take a little bit of time, potentially. Very good question. Really, really good question. Real quick, Tesla boober mama, Alexandra Merz. There was a message. He's too legit to quit. If you don't follow Amit, make sure you go follow him. He is one of the best finance, if not the best finance YouTube channel out there. Go check him out. He's awesome. Awesome. Tesla Boomer Mama, aka Alexandra Merz. I'm going to pull up her X because I really want to give her a very personal shout out here. If you're not familiar, Alexandra, why can't I spell Alexandra Merz? There we go. Okay. If you follow the Tesla story very closely, real quick. Approved, yay, and hope all goes Elon's way moving forward. I agree. $20 super chat. Thank you, Brian. Thanks for all you do, Farzan, and congrats on the new addition to your family from Buffalo, New York. Thank you very much. From Giga 2. Nice. Awesome. Thank you, Brian. That's going to go into the diaper fund. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Alexandra Merz, for the last few weeks, on her own dime, on her own time, has spent so much time getting the retail investors to be able to vote on this vote. One of the issues that Tesla was having was that there were brokers out there, stockbrokers, that weren't allowing investors to vote their shares because of God knows what reason, right? But that wasn't the case. And so there had to be a movement for these brokers to be able to allow people to vote, and then to also create awareness that retail investors can go out there and vote. And on her own volition, she started a effort to create awareness and get brokers to actually change their policies so that investors could vote on this comp plan and the Texas move and everything else, which absolutely made a difference. So a huge shout out to Alexandra Merz. If you don't follow her on X, at Tesla Boomer Mama, please do follow her on X. She's also on YouTube, Alexandra Merz. She's one of the most amazing people I've ever met. I'm quite honored to call her a friend, and super sweet. And just thank you so much for everything you've done, Alexandra. Truly, it's like insane. And then if you are at the shareholder meeting today, I'm not going to be there because unfortunately well, I guess fortunately I have a baby. I'm taking care of my baby. But let's make sure, if you're there, if you're willing to do this, I think it will be super cool. Let's make sure that during the Q&A where they have the microphones up for people to speak, let's make sure that Alexandra makes it to the microphone so that shareholders, retail shareholders specifically, can give her a standing ovation for all the work she's done. I think that would be a super cool moment. I think she might get a shout out from Elon and the Tesla folks anyway, because she's been publicly acknowledged for her work. But I really think it would be super cool that we give her the props that she deserves in person, right? That would be super cool. Okay, let's end it there. We'll be back at 2:30 p.m. Central. We'll cover the shareholder meeting live with myself, Nico, Hans, and Matt Smith, the ugliest person you'll ever see in your life on screen. I will promise you this, okay? And perhaps we'll have Yashu stop in as well. So thank you so much. Huge day if you're a Tesla fan. Huge day if you're a Tesla investor. We can finally move forward. Okay, everybody. We'll see you in about 3.5 hours. Take care.